How's it going, Scrub Gamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today I'm going over my deck profile for Red Vegito that I played to a win, to a full-on win for the locals last week. So if you want to check out the games and see how it performed, you can go and check that out from my upload on Monday, where I gave all the gameplay, just the gameplay from my stream last week. And this is one of my favorite decks so far. It's quite interesting in how to build it because you can go quite different routes. Like the leader is just like you got a better way now to awaken. Like the problem with it before is the leader all the way back for set 2, and back when we had back in the beginning of the game, you didn't have much in terms of like control over your awakening. Like normally you got it triggered through your opponent attacking you and stuff like that. There weren't too many cards that allow you to take your own life to awaken, and the game was quite still new, quite fresh. And over time, decks got support in little bits, and this deck got support in little bits as well over like more decks in the cards in the deck. That didn't really help it deal with the overall problem, which is how to awaken as quick as possible to actually get draw power and become a little bit useful. And that's where the Zenkai series actually came in and gave it a nice little option of how to improve it and give it the best support it could probably get. And that is the form of 2 Z cards, one being a Z leader and one being a Z battle card. Now both are really great because they both help the deck massively. And the first one is the Z battle card, which actually gives you now an alternative awakening, allows you to awaken at high life like most decks do nowadays, and also allows you to awaken quickly as well. So by turn 2 you're normally awakening, and all you require to get that triggered is to essentially combo once. So if you combo once by turn 2, you can use that Z battle card to awaken, and you can use more on those Z battle cards later on in the turns to actually go in tandem with the Z lead to actually pull off some good plays and play some really strong cards. So just having it there for self awaken is not what it does. It actually does everything, and also is a search as well, help filter and keep this consistency of the deck. And not only did we get that to help flip the leader over, we also got a Z leader to go with it, which actually makes the leader massively more improved than it used to be. Because like most decks now, most of the new decks and some older decks now are getting Z leads to give the kind of revamp and kind of give more support to the leader without rebooting it. Because we have had differences of some decks getting support, some decks getting just rebooted because they just need to be completely fixed. And Vegito is one of those ones that just seems to be loved by Bandai because it gets support almost every anniversary set, and this one gave it the best one. And Azeliel also allows you gives it inherent barrier removal, which is what every deck should have, and just having it built into your lead is quite nice, and giving it better draw power and also a nice little not improved stats, but some more skills. And so what we're going to do is go over my deck profile, and also this is going to be the list I would have taken. Well, I did take to finals because I did take a break after finals because I got so drained from Dragon Ball. Had to take quite a long break just to not get too bored of Dragon Ball, just so I can keep it fresh. And unfortunately, I wasn't able. During that time I wasn't able to get a tournament report out, and I felt by the time I came back to doing content, it was a bit too late and not as worthwhile because I did kind of mess up at least twice in some games, which cost me some important games. But I'm going to go over the list, updated now, ready for the new format, and also so people can try it if they want to take it to big events and stuff like that. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Before we do, actually, feel free to like, comment, subscribe. It helps me out great with the channel, helps me get to my goal of 1,000 subs, and every little support like that goes to help the channel massively. So thank you for everybody has, and thank you if you go ahead and do that as well. So let's have a look at the deck. I'm going to start off with the leader. So the leader is quite basic. It's got the main thing about it really is on both sides it's got a permanent which treat all Son Goku and Vegeta cards in all areas as if they were red, green, and blue. So it essentially makes it so if you've got a Goku card that's red, it also has the colors blue and green. Now it doesn't change it to be a multicolor or anything like that. It's still monocolor, because it's still a monocolor card of the printed color, but it also gains those skills. It doesn't change to be a multicolor, so things that require you to have a multicolor won't trigger this. But it does essentially make any Goku and Vegeta tricolor, and so like in energy, if you play a red Goku, or no, sorry, yellow Goku, you don't have 4 colors. If you play red Goku, you got 3 colors, things like that, to allow you to play more things that most decks normally don't. And it keeps it on both sides, and also it keeps it on the Z leader, which is important to note. Like that permanent is on all copies of the leader, both sides of the main leader and the Z leader. And the only real important thing on the leader on the front side is Z-Awaken, which is that when you're like 4 or less, you draw 2 and flip over. And the Z battle card does the same thing; it allows you to flip over, but it takes away the requirement to be at 4 or less life. But it allows you to draw 2 and flip over. And on the Awaken side, the only real important thing about that is that on the auto, when it attacks, you draw 1. Like, there's other stuff to it, but it's never gonna really matter. But it's more that now it has an auto when it swings, the draw 1, and that's important because when you do, before you go into Z lead, you're gonna want to attack with the lead to get that draw, and then Z lead, so you actually get the full benefit and the maximum draw power you can get. That's it, very quick of a lead, because the Z lead is what makes the deck really. So we're going to go over that in a bit, but first we go to the main deck. So starting off with some of the Vegito cards. So first of all, we have one of the stronger combos that came over 2 anniversary sets, and that is the 4-drop Vegito and the 5-drop Vegito. This little combo, just for 1 energy, allows you to filter your deck by 4 cards, and keep your hand at the same size it was when you played this. So you get something on the board, plus keep your hand size the same, and filter your deck by 4 cards. And that works by the activate main on this Vegito, which has a cost of 1, and you need to discard it from your hand. So essentially, you pay the 1 energy, discard this from your hand, and if your leader card is a Vegito card, which it will be because you play in this deck, then you get to choose up to, and this is important. Remember it's up to as well, so you don't have to bring out all of them. You can bring out 1 or 2 if need be, and that is to bring out one Goku card and 1 Vegeta card in your deck or drop area, so either area, with an energy cost of 2 or less, negate their skills, and you play them in rest mode. You then shuffle your deck if you look through it, and then you can't play non-Vegito battle cards for the duration of the turn. So the good thing about this is the fact you can get it from drop means if you have no more targets in the deck, because you want to normally get it from deck, so you can thin your deck out the draw to the bits that aren't searchable that you want, you can get it from drop as well. So even if you use it as an open deck, you still have the option to go through your drop and bring them out from there as well, which is nice. And then the last little bit is at the end of the turn, place all battle cards played into the battle area by the skill in the owner's drop area, which won't really matter because normally when you're bringing out cards from this, you're going to Potara over them straight after. And with the 5-drop, it's really, really great because 1 is a 25k, which is that sweet spot for base battle cards, just attacking to your opponent's leader at 15k. At 25k, it means you have to use a super combo plus a 5k combo just to combo out, like as easily as possible without losing cards. And while the super combo replaces itself, that 5k won't, so you're at least taking 1 card out of the hand, and that advantage is important. And not only that, it also has barrier, which you'll find is a big theme in this deck. Like a lot of cards have barriers, so it's hard for your opponents to actually interact with your cards. So if it's not in rest mode, they're not going to really be able to interact with it very well. And the Union Potara is nice because it also, it just allows you to draw as well, which is quite nice. So the Union Potara is free, so you don't have to pay any energy for it. You just need to have your leader being a red Vegito card, and draw 2 cards, and then play it on top of a Goku and Vegeta in active mode. The important thing about this is if you decide to swing with the Goku and Vegeta, you're going to Potara into. It's fine, you could attack with those 2, get some more swings in, put some pressure on, and then Potara into this, and this will come in active mode on top of those 2 cards, so you can then attack with this, which is quite nice. And yeah, it's just really nice that it draws 2 as well on this Potara, meaning that it draws part of the cost, so even if it gets stopped, you still get the draw of those 2 cards. And as well as that, it can be stopped by Slug, because remember, the draw is part of the cost. If you can't pay the cost, you can't play the card. And so that's the base thing of normally what you do, just have this down as a 25k barrier beat stick. But you also do have 2 other skills that can be useful. The last one, has got an activate main / battle, and it's got an activate main. The activate main that requires 4 red energy is not, I'm not going to go over because you're never going to use it. It's too costly for what it can do, and there's nothing really Like, there is a secret rare you can play using that, but we don't play that secret rare, so it's pretty pointless. It's more the ever activate main slash battle. So this skill requires 2 red, that's the cost, and that's it. And essentially what it does is allow you to play one Vegito card with energy cost of 7 or less from your deck on top of this card to shuffle your deck. And we'll get into the target for that in a sec, but that is essentially what the deck aims to do, is just this little combo is really nice in that you for 1 energy break the 2 targets to play out. They come in rest mode, that's fine because you go Potara straight into them. And then you've got a 25 beat stick with barrier that you can attack with every turn. If your opponent can't deal with it, it's just there and it's hard to interact with barrier. And then it's always got that potential, just activate main slash battle for the 2 red to play out a 7 drop on top of it. And the 7 drop can be quite devastating as well. So speaking of 7 drop, the one we only play 1 copy of the 7 drop because, well, for reasons we open this now, is 1 copy of Hyper Rush SSB Vegito. So this is the target you normally bring out for the activate main slash battle, and it's a very nice card, but we only play it 1 because if you look at it, unlike most of the cards we'll see, it's a 1 cost 10k combo, and you don't really want to be paying, well, in a deck that's not blue, you don't really have the energy to be comboing a 1 cost 10k unless it's swinging for a kill turn and comboing this off. So we only play 1 of this because that way we don't clog up our hands with any of these. And at least, and with the deck, when you're doing things like searching with the 4 drop, you can see through your deck if it's in your deck, and if it's not in your deck, it's in your life. So you know whether in future, if you go the 5 drop and go to think if you can do it, if you can't do it, and if you do draw into it, the Z leader allows you to put it straight back in the deck. It's same with the Z battle card as well. And those put at the bottom of the deck, meaning it's there tucked away, not worrying about potentially drawing into it. And it's really nice because we're going to ignore the Union Potara because we're not going to use the Union Potara on this card because it is way too costly to do that from your hand. And that's because it costs 5 energy. And 5 energy is not very resource efficient to pay 5 energy in a deck that's not blue. Because remember, blue's the only colour really that can get energy back and make full use of its energy and then not worry and have like energy on defense because it's just how blue operates. But the main good thing about this one is that it's got triple strike as a base. So it's a base 25k triple strike, and the good thing with this little combo of using it off the 5 drop is that if your opponent dirty bursts you, which is something most blue decks probably want to try and do because this is such a good card in this format, is try and dirty burst you. So if you drop any of your 8 drops, which you see in a sec, you can attack with them. And when your 8 drops do have at least one of them has protection, that if they dirty burst, you can't attack with that card, and you've paid that big beat state you can't really use, and it shuts down some of your big swings for the turn. But with the 5 drop, it's under 7 drop because dirty burst hits 7 or more, which hits this. But if you play out the Vegito 5 drop and swing with it, it can swing because it's under 7. And when you use the effect to go on to activate main slash battle, when you use the effect to play the 7 drop onto it, the attack isn't stopped just because there's dirty burst in effect, because the attack's already gone through because the card was originally a 5 drop. So the attack goes through, and now you swung through under dirty burst with a triple striker. Same power as well, 25k base, so it doesn't get stronger, which is a shame. But when you're going for the kill turn, it's 25k triple strike and you burn 3 or less life. You are just basically going all in on that as well. But not only that, like it's not just a base 25k triple striker. Vanilla, that's not the case. It does have a really nice auto as well, which also allows you to gain your hand back. It's one of the 2 ways to increase your hand size by quite a lot in this deck as well. Because as I said, with this deck you can awaken quite a high life total, and with that you can normally awaken at 7, 8 life by turn 2, and then you awaken there, easy to defend yourself with. And you're not really taking too much damage. Like I've had games where I've stayed 8 life till the end when I've won. That's just how the deck operates, which is quite nice. And this card has a nice little auto to allow you to gain more cards while putting a big push turn, so you can get more cards to combo with to finish off as well. And the auto reads as, when you play this card, if your leader is a Vegito card, which it is, choose up to 1 of your opponent's battle cards and up to one card from your opponent's hand and place them in the drop area. Then draw 2 cards, and then if you then may choose 2 cards from your life and add them to your hand. So essentially you can plus 6. Well, you can actually gain 6 on this. Like you draw 2, you then can take up to 2 life. So if you have enough life to take, and you go for the kill turn anyway, you're going to take those 2 life, just add more cards. So you actually gain 4 cards to your hand, ripping something off your opponent's board like a card they can combo with or a threat, and then you're at random selecting a card from your opponent's hand and dropping it. So you can hit some super combos, maybe some like things that you want to keep in hand that you don't want to lose. Because that's one of the best things is when it comes to ripping the card out your opponent's hand. If you give them the choice, they're going to always drop the card that's least useful in that situation. But if you choosing, you can potentially hit something big. You can potentially hit something they wanted to drop anyway. But the chance of hitting something that they don't want to lose, that can swing the tide of the game, is quite powerful. So that's the card, and we played, as I said, 1 copy. So we still have it in the deck, but we don't have it clogging up our hand. And next we have the 8 drops. So we're still on the Vegito cards. And next one we got is the SSB Vegito Paralyzing Prowess. This is just a big beat stick you can bring out because it has Deflect and Barrier, 2 keyword skills that should not be on a single card, but it is on this card. And also, not only that, being unable to be stopped from coming out, and also being hard to interact with. It also has triple strike and on a 35k base. So this is what you're normally going to be flooding out on the board. And if they survive the turn, you then have a next turn to drop another one after it as well. Just accumulate a lot of them to put some big swings in, doing some big damage, and putting a lot of pressure on your opponent. Now the auto and the evolve doesn't matter because you're not going to be playing on this via the Z leader's effect, and the auto isn't relevant because it doesn't work with this lead. It works only with a blue Trunks future lead, which ours is not. But essentially, this is your big, like, one of the main ways you're doing damage in this deck is by dropping big beat sticks like this and pushing through some big triple strikes using these cards. And where most of these have barrier as well, your opponent's going to have a hard time clearing the board of them unless they attack. And if they attack, they're quite high bodies as well, so don't really put some combo power behind them, which if you can defend it easy enough, or like just combo out with a single, if they get the match of power, you just combo 1 card off. They potentially use a few cards to combo up to try and get rid of it, and then you've defended it, and you have a next turn they've got less cards in their hand. And now the last Vegito card we have is our secret rare, being Power Potara, Vegito, Kefla, and Zamasu. So this is once again another 8 drop you can play for free off the lead, which we'll go over how you can do that on a bit when we get to the Z deck. And this is a very powerful one because just like the Paralyzing Prowess, it also has triple strike. So it's got triple strike, it's got energy exhaust, like all multicolour cards do, and ultimate. So this is a secret, you can only use one of those in the game. In the deck, and if it gets removed from once you play it and it gets removed from the battle area, it gets removed from the game by the new way of how ultimate works. Now you do have to be careful with this card because it does have a permanent where if your opponent has 6 or more energy, or they have 6 or more cards in rest mode, then this cost is reduced by 3 in your hand, which means you can't play this for the lead if your opponent has 6 or more energy or 6 or more cards on their field in rest mode. Because the Z leader can only play out Vegito cards that are 8 cost. So if you get to that point where you get late in the game or your opponent manages to get enough cards in rest mode, if you can't clear some of those cards in rest mode to reduce how many they have, then this can never come down off the lead because it'd be treated as a 5 drop in your hand. So you have to be wary of that. The longer the game goes on, the least likely you are going to be able to drop this secret rare. So normally you want to try and find this early to drop it, because not only does it gain you the cards, as we see from the auto, but you then put down this nice big threat that also puts in some effort as well, because the auto is very powerful. Because the auto reads, as when this card is played, choose up to 4 cards from your opponent. Well, choose up to 4 of your opponent's cards, which in rest mode, and then draw 4 cards. So in a red deck, technically a red deck, you get to draw 4 off this and tap down 4 of your opponent cards. So if your opponent is leaving energy up to help defend, like with negates and stuff like that, you can drop this and tap them out. So your opponent holds up blockers, tap them out, energy, tap them out, so that way they've got no resources unless they're blue really, and you can just start swinging with these big threats. And you also draw 4 brand new cards as well to fill your hand back up. So and that's why hand destruction doesn't really work against this deck, because the combination with Hyper Rush Vegito and your secret rare, you can draw up to like 8 cards off those back to just keep your hand healthy. and your leader doing a nice little +1 to fix your hand as well. Put back cards you want to keep in deck is really nice to just not worry about hand control. So if you hate hand control, this might be a good deck for you because it can draw a ton and keep a nice healthy hand. So that is all the Vegitos. So that is some of the big cards you normally playing that kind of like push the damage and like clean up games. But to go into these, you normally need cards to go on top of them, especially for the 4 and the 5 drop. You need some Gokus and Vegetas to go on top of them because that's normally how Potara works. It's two people fused together using the earrings. So we'll start with the Goku cards. So the first one we got is 4 copies of SS Son Goku, the Legend Personified. This is a really nice one because it's just a 1-drop cantrip. And what I mean by cantrip is it's like a magic term where normally what that means is the card replaces itself. So cantrip is when you play a card, when the card's played or used, it replaces itself in hand by drawing your card. And this one's a nice one because it's unique, so you can have 1 copy on the board at a given time. But it's also just when it's played, draw a card, and it has a nice little activate main. So when the game goes on the later the game goes on, the more useful this little 1-drop can be. And essentially, its activate main is bond free, so it requires you to have itself and 2 other battle cards on board, which is easy enough. Just easy enough to get 2 other battle cards on board to trigger this. And it's once per turn. If your opponent has 3 or more energy, that's the requirement. So your opponent needs to have at least 3 energy. When this card gains 21k power until the start of your next main phase. Now this is really nice. So it means that from your turn 3 onwards, if you're going second, or your turn 4 onwards, if you go first, you can play this down, draw a card to replace itself, and now if you've got 2 other battle cards on board, you can use this effect to make it 25k that you've paid for 1 energy to swing pressure. And with the things like when cards evolve on top of or go on top of other cards, the only thing that passes over now is, well, it's been since a good while in the game. Only thing that really passes over is power increases and reductions. So if you use this effect to gain that extra 21k and then go over into Vegeta Resolve Combined, you then pass that power over. So that extra 21 power you had on the 21k power you had on Goku passes over to Vegito to make it a 46 card, 46 base Vegito, which is quite nice. And especially if you do play this out, get the power, go into the Vegito, and then swing, then use this effect to go into Hyper Rush. You then add that power even over to Hyper Rush and have a triple striking 46k beat stick, which is very, very nice. And we play 4 copies of this because of that fact that if you then, because of unique, you can only have 1 on the board. If you do like Potara over this after using it, swinging it, and a Potara over it, you then don't have it on the board anymore, so you can play another 1 to then get another draw, make it 25 again, and then swing with that again for very little pressure. For very good pressure for very little cost. And that's why I play 4 copies of this. And then the next Goku we have is never 1-drop, but this time a yellow one. Because, as I said, where each of the Gokus and Vegetas gain red, blue, and green, with just any red, blue, or green Goku Vegeta, they're just gaining 3 colors. But if you have a yellow one, you then get access to all 4 colors instead of just 3. And that's why we play the new Dash Pack card being Goku and Vegeta Alliance Rivals. Now, none of the skills matter on it because they don't work with this lead. They only work with a certain lead that Dash Pack was made for. But it does, the good thing about it does have barrier. And also, is that it's a Goku and Vegeta as well. So in your energy, if you charge it, it's going to count as 4 colors: yellow, red, blue, and green, which is what we want. And if you play it on board, it's then either a Goku or a Vegeta for Potara. And the fact that if you play it and it stays on board, like you play it from hand, it also has barrier, meaning you can stay on the board ready for when you want it to use Potara as well, which is quite nice. So we include these because it counts with both characters, and there's no other real good Goku cards that are really useful in the deck as well. That's the issue, that are at least yellow. So we have 4 copies of that because of both names and yellow. So this card is primarily going to be what you're going to use for charging or bring out for a polymorphic Potara. Then we have the last Goku card being 3 copies of Son Goku the Rescuer. Now people might be thinking about looking at this thinking, like, what to use this for, how to use this card. And this card is just to add extra cards on board and basically bring out more targets for Potara and to get attacks in for free. Because remember, most things that, like, if you play most things for free, they're normally quite good. and this Goku is quite useful because once again, Goku is going to have all three colors for energy and stuff. But also, it's got a nice little effect on its auto of when a battle card is returned to a player's hand by a skill. If you don't have a copy of this card in the battle area, you can play this card from your hand. So that's really nice. And we didn't really use the activate main because it's never going to be useful to come up. And the good thing about this is with the leader's effect to draw, it also has a way to bounce things back to hand. So it's got like a blue deck skill in a red leader. And this allows you to, if you use the effect to draw 2 cards and then bounce a card back, you can then play this because the card's been back to hand, you get to play this out, and if you've got a Vegeta on the board, you can then swing with this, then you need to Potara over that Vegeta and this to go into a Vegito and then swing with that Vegito as well. So just more cards you can use to extend your turn, at the very least, charge fodder and combo fodder as well for Z energy. So that's a Goku. That was our Goku cards, and our Vegeta cards. Vegeta is normally in this. Like it always seems to be that Vegeta has normally the best cards when it comes to Fuuusion and Potara targets, which is odd. Consider that people love Goku more than he's the protagonist. But with Vegeta, we've got one of my favorite ones. So always like putting blue hate in any deck, and that is the Vegeta protecting his loved ones. So this is the cards. This is the range like what's it? Set of cards from Draft Box 3 or Draft Box 6 that hate on D Magic because also just like the red Goku, it's a cantrip, play it, draw a card. Also has barriers, so you can play it and keep it protected there, so you can keep it on board. So if you're playing a blue deck, to make it so they're not going to want to use D Magic to untap energy. And then also that that auto where when your opponent switches their energy to active mode using the counter skill, so it can be a counter play, counter attack. Either as long as it's counter skill, you get to place one of their life and one of their energy into their drop. So we play 4 copies of this because I just love these cards. If you're playing them, you normally play them against blue, or at least D Magic specifically. And it's also a Vegeta that you can bring out with 4-drop and also the charge and stuff like that. And then we have the next Vegeta being 4 copies of Vegeta, Fatherly Encouragement. So once again, this is just like the yellow Goku Vegeta we have. It's yellow, so you can get 4 colors for your energy from it. So it can be any one of 4 colors in your energy, which is actually those 2 are actually relevant for a extra card we're gonna see in a bit as well to help push when you go with these triple strikers to make sure a simple negate doesn't stop them. And this is more beneficial than most yellow Vegetas because not only is it just there for a charge or for a combo, it actually has a useful skill which can come up given the situation, which is his counter attack, which you negate the attack and play this card. So it can be used as a negate if needed, to negate an attack and play itself, and if it plays itself on the board and you get a Goku out, you then have the materials for Potara. So that's why we play 4 copies of those over most ever Vegetas. And then the last Vegetas we have is Resolve Renewed, a card so good for red that Bandai forced it to be restricted to Vegito, which is fine for Vegito, but a sad day for every ever red deck. And this is really nice because it's a really good counterplay, as we've seen with any red deck, where just the battle card's being played is 15k or less. Places those drop areas that have been played and play this card. So once again, an every Vegeta you're playing out to Potara and also being useful. And the permanent of once you get the 3 or more energy, you can reduce this card in your deck and hand by 2, so it's a 1-drop counter play, and then turn 3 onwards, you can play it off the Vegito Polymorph Potara as well. And at the very least, if you want to take some life to try and dig for cards in your life as well, you can always use the activate main, which can come in handy. So if you've used Polymorph Potara already in the game, and you know that your secret rare or Hyper Rush is in your life, and you want to get it out so you can actually use it, you can always use this to kind of help dig for your life, because most of the time you can stay at high life total and there's not many cards unless your opponent attacks into you to have a look for you to try and get cards from your life. And this is a nice handy one that also sets up for Potara and also helps you search for those things. By using the activate main for playing 1 red, if your leader is a Vegito card and you add 1 card from your life to your hand, play this card from your hand. So there's another way to play without having to wait for your opponent to play something to use the counter play. You can play it by just paying 1 red to play it out and also take a life as well to try and dig for things that maybe in your life that you know are in there to kind of have that chance to try and find it. And we play 3 copies because just a very good counter play, especially when people are trying to floodgate you and you just want to say no to that. And that is it for the Vegeta and Goku cards. So we got a good 11 cards of each to go with it to keep that consistency, control, power, and this usefulness some of these Goku and Vegeta cards are. And next we have our Brody Crown. We have 2 copies of Brody Crown because it's just such a good card for against blue. Just if your opponent leaves 2 energy open for blue, you just want to play this down, have a peek at the hand to see what they've got, what kind of cards they've got to like hinder you, and just drop them from their hand. So we play 2 copies of this because even though it can be played for skills, we never played it by skills anyway, and it's still just a really strong card. I don't see any way so far that I would cut this out to the sideboard. I would always keep this mained for any red deck, but time will tell if something comes in. But it's normally a main deck. If you're not main decking, you should be at least at the very minimum siding it. Then we've got our super combo. So I go for the Beerus Motivated Destruction because where we're not focusing on where we can awaken a high life total, and we don't really care about taking a life or focusing on that, I've gone for this Beerus as well because there's very few cards that you'll reveal off this that aren't red or yellow. And those are normally, there's 5 cards in here, we'll see 1 in a bit, and the other 2 are the Hyper Rush, which you want in the deck, and SSB Vegito, Paralyze and Paralysis, which you're searching off the lead kit in your hand anyway, so you're kind of filtering 3 of them out your hand to actually use and play, to have less likely of a chance to find this. And the other ones you're going to want to put in deck and kind of put at the bottom of the deck anyway to keep them out so you can play them whenever you want. So most of the time, it's not often you're going to hit something that won't gain you the full combo power of this. And almost every card, and even some cards, can give you the full, like the actual full value, and some can give you half the value. So most of these cards as well, if you see most of the Vegetas, you got the Vegetos, the 2 red ones count as red. The secret rare counts as a yellow, so at least that one. And then the Gokus, they all count as at least red, so if they're green or blue, they're also red. And if they're yellow, they count as red-yellow, so you get the full value out of this. This is one of the only, I think, only multicolored super combos that actually draws a card. And most of the time, it's going to still be a 10k combo, or potentially 15, and still gain you that card as well. Especially if you hit a never copy of itself, you get the full value as well. So we play these 4 super combos because we're not always trying to push ourselves down that low life to 4 life or less. We want to keep ourselves higher life to have an easier way to deal with certain decks and not worry too much about it because we still draw a ton in this deck. And another way to protect your life as well, another multicolor we got is 4 copies of Whis, Angel of Universe 7. So this is a very nice negate, and kind of like every deck and every color has token negates now. Every color's got token negates, and those require you to be at 5 or less life to use for free to negate and then play out a blocker token. Now this basically acts the same, but has a requirement enabled to pull it off, which is you need to have 4 more colors in your you need to have 4 more colors in your energy to activate this card's counter skill from your hand by taking a life instead. So you'd have to be at 5 or less life, you just have the 4 colors, and with this deck, just simply charging one of your yellow Gokus or Vegetas, which we have 8 copies of, at least by turn 1, makes this live as soon as early as turn 1. So unlike most token negates, we have to get down to 5 or less life. Then you need to, this one doesn't require you to go to a certain life total. It's just live just by charging simply a card you want to charge. And it's really good because it acts the same as a token negate because it's counter attack, you just need to attack and play this card, and it inherently has blocker. So it does the exact same as any token negate. But you don't have to worry about going down to 5 life, you can stay at 8 life and still have it live. And as well as that, it can be useful when comboing too, because it's got an auto of when this guy's using the combo from your hand, switch up to one of your energy to active mode, which means even though it's got 2 energy cost for a 10k combo, you pay 2 to combo it, and then you untap one of those energy packs. Essentially a 1 cost 10k combo when you're using it for combo, but most of the time you're using it as a negate to play it on block. And the good thing about this over token negates is if the turn passes after you've played this, you didn't block with it, it's still on board, it's still a blocker on your next turn, which is great. So it's either still a 10k attacker or a blocker on your next turn, unlike token negates, which either can then be used as combo power later after the turn after it's been dropped, or it's just a 10k. That's it. And so we play 4 copies of this because we want to get a yellow Vegeta or Goku, charge turn 1 so we can have this live when we want. And that's why we and these are the little benefits. You can, if you want to focus on like dropping more to 7 drop to get your life, because that can control your life going down, or even the resolve for new getting your life down to 4. You can then go for the Rat Super Combo and Token Negate. But if you want to keep a high life total and have more control over the game, I will have an easier time doing it as well. You can play these two, the Super Combo and this token and this Negate, to make it easier, the Wii Spirit super combination. And that brings us to the last battle card in the deck, and the one I go for is SS4 Vegito Think Greeting. Now, it's up to you what you want to play. Like, people could play Mirror, people could play Dark Broly. It depends what you want to use it, what you want the overrun to do for the deck. I go for Fang Greeting because it's a nice 30k body that you can overrun for no energy cost, just having 16 a drop. And at the very least, if I need a combo of it, it's a sort of 5k combo. Whereas like things like Dark Broly have a 0 combo cost, so if you want a combo it's useless, but it still has a big body and useful effect. And Fang Greeting covers more things for me because it can be comboed with for actual combo power, overwhelms for free, not having to pay energy for it, and has a good overwhelm effect where when it's overwhelmed, your opponent warps 1 card from their hand, meaning you actually putting pressure on your opponent and force them to use cards to out combo your swings, your big powerful swings. You're reducing their cards in hand with this as well and getting more swings in for cheap as well. So you could go for Dark Broly and have that removal if you feel you need more removal that isn't just bouncing back to hand, but at the risk of losing some combo power in it. Or you can play Mirror if you want to if you don't mind having paying the energy to play it out for some strong effects like the Mirror Assault from the Skies or Mirror Create Absorbed. It's up to you how you want to go. I just normally go for this one because it's cheaper, actually has combo power, and has a decent effect to go with what it does. And then we go on to the extra cards. So the first one we've got is King Vegeta's Imposing Presence, because we're a red Saiyan, so we can play this for free using the permanent, or if you're free at less life, you can play this for free, play the counter attack for free by discarding a card from your hand. And it's just a good counter play, just if you're getting put pressure on, you can pay the 1 energy just to neg the first thing through barrier by 10k and make it harder for your opponents to push through your defense, and so a little bit easier. Now you can switch this out for other things if you wanted to. I like this one just because it's kind of useful, and it's at the very least it's chargeable for just a red, or even as well as that, it is easy cards to side out as well. And then the last card we have, which is the reason we're playing some yellow cards in here, is Almighty Resistance. So this is our counter. If people have seen over the years of playing Dragon Ball how strong like Bad Ring Laser was, how good Cooler counter is, how good the Baby counter is, and stuff like that, you'll understand how good Almighty Resistance, because it's the only real counter red has, and it's very good. All you need is to pay 2 energy, being 1 red and 1 yellow, have a red leader, and discard a yellow card from your hand to negate the counter attack skill. So this is great for if you swing at your opponent's on 3 life and you drop one of these triple strikers to swing, a simple negate can stop it and end that swing. But if you put Almighty Resistance behind it, especially with Vegeta Paralyzed Prowess, which has Barrier and Deflect, it's going to be hard for them to interact with it once the attack's gone through, and if they're in kill range, you put everything into it, the only option they really have is to out-combo it, which is why Almighty Resistance is very useful in making sure those big swings go through. And we only play 2 because the deck filters so much you can find them, and all you need is 1 out of the 2 to then have, because all you can use is any other yellow card discard off it, and you can just use 2 energy. And it's alive to go with turn 3, because remember you can play out these 8 drops for 1 energy once you get to turn 3, and have the other 2 energy for this to push through as well. So that's the deck. I keep it at 50 cards because I want to be able to see my cards and because you draw through it. And even though I get close to decking out sometimes, I've had no problem really against any mill deck so far. And then we go into the Z deck. So this is the Z leader. That's the Vegito New Look. It requires 1 Z energy and 1 Z energy and 1 red energy to play on top of a red Vegito. Doesn't have to worry about a life requirement. It's double strike inherently built in on 15k body. Once again, as I said, you keep the permanent, making your Son Goku and Vegeta cards treated as red, blue, and green. And these are the 2 skills you have. You have 2 activate mains. The first one is the one how you play out your big beat sticks, and that is through an activate main once per turn. If you have 3 and 1 energy and you choose one of your Vegito Z battle cards in play, choose up to 1 Vegito card with energy cost of 8 in your hand and play on top of the chosen card. So you got to play out these 1-drop Vegitos in your Z deck to do that, but you play a full 4, so you use the first one to awaken turn 2, and the other one so you can play out these big beat sticks every turn after to just put some pressure for a very, very cheap cost. And the other one is how you get your draw power going, is activate main once per turn. You place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, so you got at least have a card in your hand to put back. and then you draw 2 cards, and then you can choose up to one of your opponent's battle cards, ignoring barrier restricting in his hand. This is great because it's essentially great removal against no matter what. If you're ever putting cards with barrier back in the hand just to get out of the way, sure they can combo with the cards, that's fine, but you get rid of the card off board. If they paid a lot of energy to put it on board, you're paying nothing, they just get it off the board, back to the hand. So they can drop it next turn, but they've got to pay the energy again, potentially stunning them. And if you hit a Z battle card that has barrier, you can just go, okay, bounce that, and that does get bounced back to hand. Well, Z deck gets removed from the game, so it's like a great Z deck killer. And we only play one because it doesn't come off at any point, and until there's something like remove Z leads, like your opponent, anything your opponent can do to remove Z leads off your leader, then we might play more, but at the moment we just play one because once it's on, it's never coming off. Then we have the Vegito, ready when you are. This is the one that helps you self-awaken. So it's got deflect, it's got a protection coming in, and it also has a permanent where if there are 3 or more colours in your Z energy, this card gains barrier. And that's very easy to pull off in there, because remember, the leads have a permanent, which make Goku's and Vegeta's red, blue, and green in all areas, and that's all areas, even your Z energy. So if you have if you have this on board and you have a Goku or Vegeta in your Z energy, they count as 3 no matter what color they are. At least 3 colors, giving this card barrier, essentially giving it barrier and deflect. So it's got protection from coming in, and it can have protection while on board. And there's also got a nice way to filter for your deck to look for some of your strong Vegito cards that you want, and that is through the auto of when this card is played. Look up the 7 cards on top of your deck, add up to 1 Vegito card among them to your hand, shuffle your deck, and if you added a card to your hand, you place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck. Now that is relevant because you can put cards you want back in your deck, so if you've got extra cards you don't want in your deck, in your hand, but you might want to draw on some layer, put them back in the deck, or if you've got the 7-drop Vegito, pop that at the bottom of your deck, so it's back in your deck ready to play off your 5-drop. Or if you want some Goku's Vegetas back in your deck so you can play them out with Potara, the polymorph Potara, you can put them back as well. And then we got the activate main, which is the only time you're going to use this is the first time you play one on your turn 2, and that is activate main. If your leader is a red Vegito card, its front side is facing up, you have 2 or more energy, and you move this card from the game, flip your leader and draw 2. Simple as that. So once you hit turn 2, you play this out, activate main, flip it, and draw 2. So you make sure you could have to worry about your opponent pushing you down to 4 to awaken. You just awaken no matter what like to for you at turn 2, drop this and it's done. And then once you're awakened as well on turn 2, you don't have the ever Z energy for the Z lead if you want to go straight into that as well. So those take up a hefty 5 slots in your Z deck. You can only have 7 cards in your Z deck. So the other 2 I have in there is Oolong, Greed's Cooks playing yellow, and this can bring out a 1-drop that can essentially be a huge beat stick. Like if you drop the secret rare beforehand and then you drop Oolong, you can use Oolong to copy the power of the secret rare, making it a 40k single striker, 1-for-1, which is very, very strong. And I've won a lot of games through using Oolong as well, just to copy something on the board that's huge and swing without the finish off the game. And the other one I put in is Cell Awakening of the Creator. Now, I put this one in because I did have other ones like the SSB Vegito and stuff, but I found with SSB Vegeta, I found I wasn't always having 4 Z energy to restand and get the full effect off it. And I did have the Ever Goku to push and make your opponent take a life if they're at 4. If they're at more than 3 life, to put them down to 3 so I can finish triple striker. But I don't think it was useful after that. Whereas Cell was quite nice for if your opponent goes wide. Like a problem with this deck can be if your opponent goes wide early, they can drop this. And where you're charging mainly Goku's and Vegeta's energy to get the multitude of different color energies, you can drop this quite easily by just having 2 Z energy and paying 3 blue by just having 3 Goku's and 3 Vegeta's in energy. And this allows you to, if your opponent goes wide with a board that doesn't have protection, that's 5 or less, you can drop this, snatch that all up, and put some pressure on as well, and like have a nice time as well. It's just a nice little utility option I found has been more useful than most other Z battle cards so far. And then like with most decks, I'll bring out a Z side deck as well. So on the side we got 1 copy of Shin. Again, this is mainly for when if SS4 is still relevant, to have this to drop to make it so. And in the mirror match as well, if you get turn 3, to allow them to play their 8-drop, but not be able to attack with it. A little bit of helpfulness as well. And normally you want to side out a card that isn't one of the 5 cards that isn't a that if hit off Beerus, you're not going to get the full effect of, because that way you keep the ratios the same. And we got 2 copies of Pilaf, just for another cantrip that you can swap out for the Brolys if the Brolys aren't useful in this given situation, and you want to stop them from untapping on their turn outside of leader awaken skills or leader skills. Then we got 1 Jiren, just in case a game against blue can go on for ages. Like if we get a blue stack that can stall out till their turns, to avoid from turning dropping turning the tide on you and hurting you in that essence. So you have 1 copy of that just in case. We have 2 Hyper Rush. You can switch out with Broly. These are more for if you feel Broly's going to be useful in a given matchup, so against red and stuff like that, and you feel this is going to be more useful to put in pressure, like against yellow as well. You can have this because it comes for the same thing, it comes down for 1 energy, but it comes down to 15k triple striker that also draws you a card when it's played as well. Which if Broly's not going to be useful, this could be a little bit more useful. Then we have Mirror, Created Absorb. This is in there for a side out for the Overrealm, switching the Overrealm for something that could be more useful for certain matchups. So that if you're playing, once again, SS4, and they go into their Z lead at 100k, you can drop this in, switch out the Overrealms for game 2 and 3. Switch this in, so after you force out your opponent Z-Awaken, drop this, swing to get up to that 100k, and finish them off on 1 life. If they because they can't counter or combo once they Z lead, can't do that. And then we have another one to switch out for Broly, be it Omega, if you feel like you need more pressure, more big beat sticks that they can't really stop. Like it's a deck that's not Dirty Burst, and you want to drop more threats just to want to turn off the Vegitos. You can have Omega, because once you Z-Awaken, you can drop this for 2, because that's all the requirements, just any red Z lead, which our deck has a red Z lead. Drop this down for 2 and have extra removals in the form of the second active main, for which 3k minus something for every Z energy you have, and then 30k because you'll be a Z lead as well. And another deflect 8 drop, 30k triple striker as well. And then that's it for the battle cards in Z-Deck. In the side deck, we have 1 copy of Final Guardian, just extra way if you need more negates against certain deck. Like you got a deck that you want to just need to negate certain attacks and negate it like consistently over turns. This is nice because you can use it from hand as a negate, then from your drop as a negate further on, because it's got that a way to use it from the drop as well. And we got Teamwork of Universe 7. If you're playing against a deck where they're trying to normally set up a turn where they go through for a big game-ending push with a counter back behind it, you got Teamwork of Universe 7 as a way to negate and not be countered because of its permanent, meaning its skills can't be negated in any area. So you have that. So if against like yellow with call to counter, or the mirror with all my resistance, you can have this to make sure that their kill turn they're trying to push through to be unnegatable can be negated. And the last thing we have is Dirty Burst. Moving against decks like this deck can be Dirty Burst, because if you charge 2 Goku and if you charge 2 Gokus or Vegetas, they count, remember, as 3 colors. They count as least as blue. So Dirty Burst is live and can be played in it, because Dirty Burst doesn't require any specific requirement like having a blue lead or anything. It just requires you to pay 2 blue for its full counterplay effect. So we have that for against certain decks. Use it like Mirror Match and things like SS4 and stuff to have a little bit of a better time against them. And then Max Power coming out as more negates that you can play, and also can be removal if need be. If you feel like bouncing a card back to hand isn't useful, you can have for like big things that you drop for cheap. Max Power can be used as a negate and also as removal if needed, so it's that double utility. And that is it for today. That is it for the list for Vegito. So hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully I did an in-depth explanation, and hopefully you take away something useful from this and give the deck a try. So once again, thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.